All right, let's go and get rolling. So welcome to Backstage Pass. My name's Mark Tippin. I'm the head of services for Mural. My co-host is Haley Temple, who's our services lead. And for the next 60 minutes, roughly, we're going to take you behind the scenes of a teamwork session. So why do we do this? Our goal is to help you gain confidence in using Mural in a variety of use cases, beyond the typical ways you might use it for design thinking, agile, backlog, that kind of thing, retrospective. So with Backstage Pass, we broadcast the work as it happens. We hope this inspires you to use your facilitation superpowers in new ways with your teams. To help you get the most from what we're doing today, Haley and I are going to call attention to any methods or Mural features or best practices as they happen. And behind the scenes, we have Augustine Sosa from our support, who's going to be sharing links and helpful resources in the chat, pointing out features, as well as helping us track any incoming questions. Really excited because today we have a very different type of topic for us today, but one that I think will be an interesting way to see how two teams, DevOps and IT, coordinate on a topic that is really important. It's about security and employee access and empowerment. So with us today, we have Guido Villarino, who's the head of DevOps. Welcome, Guido.
Hey, everyone.
We also have Joel Tononi, who's responsible for IT operations within engineering. Is that correct? Yeah. And Sebastian Kules, who's also DevOps engineer. And you know, I'm gonna hand it over to them.
Also,
oh yeah. Who else do we
also
have?
joining as well is Julian from IT as well.
Oh, wonderful.
And Victor from DevOps and Infrastructure.
Nice. We have a party. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Right. That's great because we have and just before we jump in, I'll point out a couple interesting things here that might not be obvious to folks. So of course, Haley's Southern California, I'm up in Oregon. The rest of the people on the call, you're all down in Buenos Aires right now, correct?
Yep.
And even though you're in the same building, you face a common challenge that people have, which is trying to reserve the rooms and where do people go. So even though you're physically in the same building, you know, there's one conference room that's big enough to hold some people, but other people dial in from their desks. And this is really common, right? This is one of the big advantages of being able to work visually together, even when you're in the same building, if you can't find a common room.
Actually, you can see in one of the video feeds, you can see the team down there with a big Surface tab, with the mural down there. They're going to be collaborating in the same space. But on the rest of like Sebastian and myself, we're in different areas of the building. So it was quicker to just jump on a call, you know, and just use Mural.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to hand it over to you, Guido. This is I'm very interested. This is a very new topic for me, so I'll be asking questions and kind of being a proxy for the audience that might also not be quite technical enough, but I'm sure there are people on the call that are more technical than me listening in. So take it away.
Awesome. So hi everyone. So today we're gonna discuss how we may approach a new VPN architecture, because we do have a VPN solution in place. As you know, every system can be improved, and you learn as you go. And we've learned a lot from the past years, and we are ready to make some upgrades. So with the rest of the team, just as a means of intro, we have had some informal talks previously, you know. So some of us may know, like sort of know what you're looking for, but just let's start by restating the problem so everyone is on track. And just, you know, talk about our users and their needs, right? So like the need is like we need to be able to serve our internal services and websites, like the internal tools we use, web-based or server cloud-based, in a way that we can ensure only Mural employees have access to them, but also ensuring all traffic to and from them is secure, so we like can actually know what's going on, and we can, you know, prevent attacks or, you know, protect the integrity of our customers' data. So the most practical way to do that, of course, is, you know, putting everything behind a VPN service, which is those who not familiar with the term, it's a virtual private network. And that's the way we have them now, right? But the thing is, it has issues. So problem is we have a bunch of different users, and of course with their different concerns. They're all trying to use secure internal websites and services, but we all use the same like system and approach. For instance, let's say we have added up a picture of Alicia here. I don't know if you want to follow me or anything. Let's say so. Alicia is one of our customer success people, and she is with enterprise transformation, and she's always dealing with customers and trying to help everyone win with Mural. And she might maybe want to access one of our internal systems with a dashboard solution, see how funnels are coming along, or how the NPS and that stuff we look at to see how we're helping everyone to work and win with Mural. On a different, let's say, use case or perspective, we have Nina. Nina is one of our product engineers, and she wants to access maybe our continuous integration systems, build servers, let's say, see how builds are doing, how the automated tests are doing every time she pushes some code to our repositories. A different approach or use case, we have my team, which is Sebastian and myself and Victor. We want to access our infrastructure. We want to log into the servers themselves, not just the website, but the server itself, and perform some maintenance and take a look at some logs and update some software there, which is a whole different use case. And finally, we have the lovely IT crowd up here, Diana and Joel, who need to manage the accesses and manage and the VPN solution itself. So we are using like sort of the same infrastructure and the same service, provide a lot of different needs for a lot of different users. So basically, these users, they all have different concerns and usually different technical skills, right? And that's okay. We don't expect everyone to have the same technical skills. So we need to keep our solution as easy to use as possible while allowing us, to limit what different user profile, let's say, or people can access in order to maintain our policies and access requirements. On top of that, we have different security requirements for different use cases. For instance, a member of the customer success team should be able to connect to the VPN with their company account and not much more hassle, just log in with your regular account and access the data you need. But maybe for someone on my team, the infrastructure team, that we want to physically connect to the servers, that entails a lot of access and a lot of, let's say, power. We do need, and we do have, a second factor authentication mechanism, right? So I want to log in, but I also need to enter like with my account, but I also need to enter a one-time password or something like that, generated through a different mechanism. So VPNs are great, but the user experience isn't usually as great as what they provide. Neither is the configuration or the flexibility of the configuration, which is what the IT crowd need to deal with. So while our current solution provides a lot of our use cases, or all of them, some of them are not as practical as others. For instance, multi-factor authentication, we use a one-time password with a device that is separate from the user account, which works, but it's like every time you need to log in, you have to type in the new number, and some of the software we may want to use for accessing servers, maybe they don't support that, so we need to find a workaround that is tough to configure. So that's not practical. Maybe we just want to get a push notification where we can tap on and just get access. Additionally, right now, if we want to limit access to different users, to different internal websites or services, we have to do it on a per user level or maybe a per system level. And we would like it for having a better solution for that, maybe configuring based on groups. So if this person belongs to the customer success team, then they should have all these accesses already granted and not others, and not be able to see other stuff. So like the question we're asking ourselves today is, how might we have an easy to use VPN solution that allows our users to access everything they need without hassle, while at the same time allowing our IT team to manage everything easily? So are we okay with that? Or any questions so far?
So, so what are some of the since this topic's new to me, so we have different stakeholders, and the things that I heard you mention are different stakeholders might have when we think about, we're putting our focus on them and we're thinking about their day-to-day experience. Like for example, you know, Alicia, she might work from you know, her remote location near San Francisco frequently, but then she might also be traveling, right? So she might be supporting a conference. So and she is often dealing with extremely urgent concerns for large enterprise customers, and so she might need a lot of flexibility in how she can present a good face of Mural back to that customer without, you know, extreme security measures, you know, having to re-authenticate every single time from every mobile device or something. So that's understanding, you know, certain things have to scale, whereas teams that are focused on, you know, moving code from internal QA'd and approved, tested servers to you know, deployment environments, you really want to make sure there's lots of specific safeguards and that each one of those is highly secure, and a little bit more heavyweight there would be acceptable by that team because, yeah, okay. So beyond security, ease of access, were there any other factors that when you're thinking about these vendors and the solutions that are out there, what are some of the other things? I'm assuming cost might be a factor or not.
You can tell we're very technical with tech things.
Well, so cost, I mean, it is a factor, but usually all solutions, like, I mean, there's always like this super extreme price range solution that doesn't make much sense if you have the personnel to manage your solution. But I guess when we're dealing with security and confidentiality of our customers' data, for us the cost is never really an issue. We don't mind that. Like we are looking for the best possible solution, not a cheaper one. So
if I might add to this, what we are looking also is for some tool that can integrate into what we already have in our infrastructure. For example, managing a list of users for a company that has 20 employees might be easier, but as we grow, we also want and need a tool that can source the information from the tools that we already use.
Is that really just, I mean, is that something as simple as, do they have a robust API or
well, it depends on the integration and how much information it can query these systems that we already have. But ideally, for example, as we saw, we already have groups of users or stakeholders. So this tool that we are looking for should ideally recognize these groups and use them to segment the access they have. We shouldn't have to manually configure the access for every new user we have.
Got it. Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, just
it's like, well, yeah, like a visual example of that is like, let's say a new engineer joins the company after their onboarding and they're you know, ramping up. It's like just by adding them to the developers group, they should immediately be granted access to whichever systems they have to, and not going per system, you know, enabling this new user here and this new user there, because that I mean, that impacts, you know, the overall cost a lot more than which solution do you choose, because it's you know, someone's time. You wanna have that automated.
and allows us to scale faster.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's, a lot of those concerns are things that, within, my department, the stuff that Haley and I look at, and there may be a lot of options out there, but you have to factor into this the time that it might take to do something, and understanding what are you likely to be doing every day versus what is an occasional thing.
Yeah, and also,
Cool.
it's like, if you do something programmatically, you actually test it and it's correct. It's less likely to make a mistake than if a person has to do a repetitive task all the time. So that's also better.
Cool. So it sounds like we now at this point I love that we're using visuals and the photos of people. I think that helps you get a lot of empathy, and it also as you need to take this decision, the outcome of the very bright people we have on this call making this decision, and then you need to go talk to the other stakeholders and maybe take it to Pato, CTO, the different areas. You've got this article where we can really identify, oh right, we're talking about these people within the company that have these roles, but then also just everyone's been contributing to a way to quickly kind of visualize some of these kind of high-level factors as they come up, and then as questions are asked, we all kind of get quickly aligned on a little bit better on what each one of these things actually mean. It's not just API, but it's integration, it's repeatability, it's prepping for scalability. So love it.
And I also want to call out, so I was capturing stuff, of course, on my, and Mark was capturing content as Guido was explaining, and then I believe, Joel, you are using the hub, so you'll see some of this information written in here. Is you're using the Microsoft Hub to capture that and actually handwrite sticky notes, which is really fun.
Super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you can hand it over to the IT guys and explain why, like, what were you writing and how this should look like, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. So Joel, can you say a little bit about the use of the hub down there? When do you when do you use the pens and kind of free form and sketch and diagram versus the use of text-based notes and things? Just as a team, like as a development team. When is it fast and loose versus? Yeah.
So I was using the hub, and what I did while Guido was explaining was adding some technical information that we need to develop the solution. So I don't know if you're following the hub. Is it sharing?
It is. Oh, well, I think we stopped the share so we could maximize your video.
Oh.
So we're gonna pin your video so we can actually just watch. All right, so you're on the big screen now.
Sure. Okay, let me just then zoom in into the hub so we can be seen.
I didn't know you guys could do this, and it actually really helps when people are sharing sketches of stuff too, like the design team. It was amazing. Like I could so clearly see their sketches when I'm, halfway around the world.
So, and the reason why we're doing this instead of just having everyone on the call look at a Zoom share is I think sometimes it's helpful to go a bit meta, take a step back and say, what does it look like for the human with one of these devices to be interacting with it? So we're not advocating the pointing of webcams at Microsoft hubs is the best way to share, but to see how people actually interact with it and what that experience is like, I think that's helpful to see.
Okay, perfect. So, well, here we have like 4 really separate teams that need to access resources that are on our network. So what I did was add some nodes with the subnets or the pieces of network that those users need to access it within our network. So the idea of the solution that we're looking for is to, let me just draw. We have some groups here that are separate that need to connect some way, or we have networks, you may say, and we're going to create a VPN server. We're going to choose a VPN server that can manage these connections. So in our infrastructure, we are going to install a VPN server where all these users are going to connect. So the users, in this case, would be on the other side connecting to the resources internally. But the idea is to have that these are 4 different groups accessing different resources within our infrastructure. And as Guido said, these groups are in teams, or different teams or organizations in our company. And those organizations or those teams or groups are the ones that are going to define what we should give access to them inside the network. So the idea, let me go back to move.
Might I suggest you use, instead of the ultra fine pen, maybe bump it up to fine or medium, just since we're looking over yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Nice big bold strokes. Okay.
Can I start sharing again, or do you want to try a little bit more?
I'd love to see. I'd love to see a little more sketching, and then we can switch back to the just sharing the screen.
Sounds good.
Because I think it's important for people to say there's some skills that need to be developed with these devices. They're super cool, but they
How about that?
yeah, there you go. That's nice and bold. Yeah. So when you get in front of one of these touch devices and you start using it, you have to realize you've got a pen and it's very fluid, as you can see. You can sketch and draw just like on a whiteboard, and it's digital. Everyone can see it at the same time, but it's also a touch-sensitive device where you're using a hand to move and pan. So it's a little bit like riding a bicycle or skateboard for the first time. It seems you might have expectations that you'll pick it up instantly, and a lot of it you will, but as a facilitator and a participant in a meeting, there's a few new skills that you need a couple minutes with it to get a sense of how all this stuff works together.
Yeah, and if I may add a little bit information here on how this is very useful for us. Being able to put our information in a graphical way, it helps to understand and remember things. What we first had was a very big info dump that might be a little hard to parse to remember all of that at once, but now we can have a graphical cheat sheet that we can even use while we are designing the technical part. When we are working with code, with the configuration such, we can refer to this to know what we are doing. So we try to put as much technical information we can while we design this.
That's wonderful. And even when you're talking about specific solutions, you can point to someone who might have a better feature between the VPN and the internet, or someone that, so you're pointing to that portion of this sketch as opposed to something between, at the end user point of contact. So you just have a physical manifestation of a concept that's in everyone's head, and then certain things will become very obvious very quickly when you're all looking at a diagram, as opposed to just using words in a Zoom call without any visual.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Why don't we, let's go back to I'll unpin the video, and then we can go back to sharing the mural. But I think everyone gets a sense of, of what it's like in the room. You've got cameras to see the people, you've got a hub, you've got pen, different line weights, it's very fluid. So let me unpin this video. And then, Haley, were you sharing your screen?
I was sharing my screen, so I can share one.
Okay, cool.
Maybe we can follow the hub now, and so
It's
can take it.
Being followed? Yes. Great. So here are the considerations for the VPN the VPN solution that we're looking for. So we did some previous work and look into what solutions are in the market, or that solutions were more appealing to us, and created a small table with the solutions that might work for us. But as we have to work here, for example, where was it? Here. Let me
just bring it down with you.
Yeah.
That. Here we go.
So you can put notes.
So I can do it with, do you want to add notes within there, or I can just write it
Oh,
here.
you can just add it there from the.
So one of the things that we need to this VPN to work as we need it is to be easy to use. And so one thing that I'm going to add is access, ease of use. Let me see in Medium. Also, we need that it supports the multi-factor authentication. What else? It has to support multiple OSs because here we work with Linux, Mac, Windows, Android, and iOS.
Yes, there's pretty much everything on the market.
Exactly. So multiple OS. Great.
And just for clarification, the multi-factor authentication, that's like, either having a physical device that's a rotating number or having a mobile app prompt when you're trying to.
Yeah, or have an app on your phone that when you connect, it would prompt you if it's you that's connecting, you can put yes, and that's it.
Yes, the way that we do the multi-factor authentication, it's a big concern for us because sometimes having a separate device might be lost, or having codes to be entered from your phone can be complicated to use, maybe bothersome. So we are trying to look for something that has a push notification, something that reaches to your phone and gives you a pop-up that says, hey, is that really you? Yes.
Got it.
That's a big concern of us.
I'm just
Also,
some information about the different terms and stuff. Furiously Googling to learn a lot of this stuff.
Okay, so here we have three. Also, we have the right level of security requirements, and ease of access for the user is already here. Multi-factor. And also have to support the role-based access.
Yes.
That's the main issue that we need to resolve.
That's the main thing, because as the company grows, we may need to onboard 30 people in one day, someday, and it will be very, very complicated to assign different permissions for each one person. So we can add all those people to the correct groups and have all the permissions set up automatically.
And the last one,
The price.
cost is not a concern. So cost is not a concern. There are solutions that are paid, and there are solutions that are free. The solutions that are free most of the times are more time-consuming to implement, maybe not, but we have to consider everything. So, what you guys saw about the solutions that we put here.
Okay, OpenVPN was the one that I worked the most. It's free actually, so it's very tempting to use that, and it's very robust. It has very good security for that. The thing is, the ease of use is the worst of them. You need to put a lot of work into that to have it work as you want it, and it doesn't have a built-in MFA.
Exactly.
You have to implement it separately. Good thing is you can put it in pretty much everything. It will run on a Nintendo DS if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
It will run on every OS.
And also, for implement role-based access, you need to use third-party
Tools, yes. The good thing about that is that OpenVPN has a good community, and there are already people who set up easy ways to set up role-based with pre-made scripts. So that part in particular is not an issue.
Okay, then we have Azure VPN Gateway. It's not difficult to use. It works on almost every OS. It doesn't support role-based access, so that's an issue, a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't support MFA.
That's our two biggest concerns.
Mm-hmm.
SSTP.
SSTP is really good because it has good pros and cons, obviously. It's good because it works over SSL. So There are no firewalls that can stop that connection, but it only works on Windows.
On Windows?
Yeah, there's an app for Android, but it doesn't work on iOS nor Linux,
All right.
or iOS.
Sounds tempting if we, in a use case where we don't have other OSs.
So multiple OS, this doesn't cover it, but it's really easy to use. It does support MFA depending on how you manage the authentication. So let's put a almost.
Yeah, we can put it on a separate cases if we need in the future to protect on a separate VPN a few virtual machines. But for this specific case, we need something else.
Okay. Seba was working a lot with Brito. Maybe he can give us some insight about it.
Yeah, sure. So from all these solutions, I'm the one that made a proof of concept of Pretunnel. It actually worked pretty well. As you can see on the post-its that I added to the canvas, under the hood, it uses OpenVPN. So it's actually an expansion. And the client is also open source, or you can use any client that supports OpenVPN. This has a pretty nasty catch in the sense that to support MFA, you have to use the Pretunnel VPN client. If you use an OpenVPN client that is like generic, it won't support this integration. The downside in the sense of MFA is that it is not included out of the box, but it has an integration with another product that is called Duo MFA, where everyone that needs to access the VPN has to download an app, and when you connect, you get a push notification where you only have to click approve, and then you are just magically connected into the network. And yeah, that's it.
Is it difficult to use? The Pretunnel app, is it difficult to use because we have people with different technical skills?
It is extremely easy. It is a self-serve product. The user just needs to go to a website, log in with single sign-on, and then they are just provided with a URL that they paste into the client and are authenticated as the corresponding user, and is only given permission to access the infrastructure that the group they belong has access to, and we can configure this using G Suite. So that's a really nice, that's a pretty good advantage of this product.
Sounds great.
I'm adding a new category here that is to admin. Because we know that
that sounds correct.
Yeah, because OpenVPN is really nice, but it's not easy to admin at all.
No, OpenVPN is it's not easy at all.
Adds a really nice web admin tool that lets you manage all the rules from there. So that can be really nice to use. We also have here Mobile Iron. It's easy to use from the client side, but it's not easy to admin. It does support. No, it doesn't support multiple OSs because it doesn't support Linux. So there we have to cross that out.
Yeah, so what are, I mean, you bring up an interesting point. Like here, there's a moment where all of a sudden you're like, it does, oh, it doesn't, oh, because Linux. Is Linux one of the OSs that we currently need to support?
Yeah, we have a few developers, and Seba also uses Linux for specific needs. So we need to keep supporting Linux within Mural.
Got it. So, so I just went up and modified the list, like the qualification around you know, what these are. So what are the operating systems? I'm guessing it's Microsoft, which is like, you know, specifically that's like Windows 10, right?
Exactly. So it's with Windows 10, Mac OS, Android, iOS, that's in iPad or iPhone.
Yeah.
So iOS, OS X, Linux, Microsoft, Android.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, cool.
That's information about product. Okay, I think that I have.
Do we have MFA with mobile area?
We do with an add-on it that's called Modern Access. So the MFA is fine also there.
But not out of the box. It's a separate app.
It's a separate app. It's not really easy to admin. The rules are not easy to apply.
All right.
It's easy for the user, not for us.
I mean, I can handle it.
We appreciate the ease of use, but yeah, if it will save you guys some headaches, then that's also very important.
All right.
Okay.
Do we have enough information here to make a decision, or do we need to consider something else?
I think we might. I think we might have enough information to start doing some tests and move on from here.
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
I would like to test the pre-tunnel. If Seba knows already about this, I would like to learn more about it.
So I think the main two contenders, we could say we've narrowed it down to either pre-tunnel or mobile iron channel, or maybe a combination of them both, because of the Linux support.
Yeah, that's right.
But I think at least we've been able to sort of root out plain OpenVPN, Azure VPN Gateway, and SFTP solutions, so that narrows down the problem to a lot less.
Exactly.
Would you agree with that? Yeah.
So which were the ones that kind of got a pass, got an approval?
So it's pre-tunnel, like the third one from top, and
Okay.
mobile iron channel, the last one.
Okay. So those two, okay,
are still in to the finals. They went down to the finals.
Okay, cool. And I added at the end of your diagram on the other side, I heard a conversation as my facilitator ears perked up, and I said, it's like, oh, so what do we need to test? And I thought, well, that's perfect, right? So you got these two now, and now there's certain functionalities that you have questions around. So maybe underneath this, what might we test next? You could have a list of action items, like before we could actually decide, we need to know between these two, how do they perform around X, Y, and Z? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to oversteer. It's your meeting, but my facilitator perked up, and I thought, like, oh, that sounds like action items, and if we have resolution on the two that are the contenders, then what do we test next to determine who is actually the best based on
We will need to test the trial of both contenders against servers that are not actually productive, things that are test servers, and see if we can produce a secure VPN and test on a couple test computers to see if they can connect properly through them.
And I added a little, sometimes for next steps, I like to do this who do through, so that we know who's responsible for the next step, what are they going to be doing, and then how are they going to do it. If that helps you guys, unless it's obvious to you who's going to do what, then that's really fine too.
Well, I guess mainly the IT crowd will be doing most of this stuff. We're going to be helping maybe on the, like, if we need to set up a server inside the infrastructure or inside a separate infrastructure to test stuff, because usually when you do a VPN, there usually needs to be something from the inside that signals you to open up the pathway for a connection, so it's secure. You know, it's like someone from the inside needs to open the door, and that's something we on the infrastructure team might be needing to provision with the team. But after that, since the domain, the team responsible for managing access and you know, monitoring the VPN itself, the VIT, they're probably gonna have the final word on this. And we're gonna sort of provide the hardest, like my team infrastructure is gonna provide the hardest use case, which is physical access to the servers. But we're probably also gonna bring in other users like Nina, our engineer, or Alicia, our customer success, to make sure as well that they are happy with the solution, because it's not just us, it's everyone on the company.
Well, that's great, because that connects all the way back to the very first discussion you had as a team, which is let's be mindful of our individual users and the different types of users we have. So, you know, that now that you have a certain hypothesis now, which is between Mobile Iron and Pretunnel, these two are gonna meet most of our requirements, but then giving an opportunity to actually validate that hypothesis by doing a test or involving representatives from some of those key groups to look at it and give their feedback as well is great. I mean, that's really best practice to not just get input from them at the beginning and then run off and make a decision, and the next time they see it is when it's mandated. But have them be able to be involved now to help either prove or disprove the hypothesis.
Right.
Cool.
So,
I do have some experience following up with user experience and design, so I can follow up with the people from PeopleOps and other users to see what do they find easier or harder. But
yeah, we need to add, once we have everything started and running,
yeah,
we need to add like test groups to test this out.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I'll try to speak with the PeopleOps to see who is up for those tests.
All right,
Okay.
cool. So just to be clear, so we've got our two finalists. We have some action items, and so I'm just curious for you as a team meeting, how do you feel about the time invested to have this discussion to get to these results?
Quite good, actually. We had a single meeting where we got from what do we need, and we got to action items, and we can just get out of here and start doing stuff.
That's right. That feels like a good meeting. If everyone's aligned, in agreement, we understand collectively and individually, we can go represent this decision back into the organization, right? We all are really clear on why these two. We have an asset, right? Now this mural kind of recorded all of the conversation. So if we don't have that conversation for a day or two and we're trying to refresh our memory, we have this asset we can bring up and instantly kind of reconstitute the whole conversation in our head and get into this matrix that represents the team's understanding. So it looks like this was highly successful for me. And even though we scheduled an hour, we're done in about, 45, 40 minutes.
Awesome.
So
Efficiency.
Yeah, that's right. That's wonderful. So I wanted to first see if I want to let folks that are joining online, if you have any questions about the process, about a technical thing that you saw today. I know a couple people have mentioned IT projects in the chat and conversations that they need to follow up and have as well.
We did have Jason asked how much prep we needed for this session to happen. I mean, I know from our end, we did 2 30-minute meetings to talk about what the topic would be, and then basically just make sure we were aligned on how we're joining and things like that. But really, we wanted you guys to show how you were actually solving problems, and how Mural, our own product, is part of that. Is there anything else behind the scenes that, I mean, I know you've poured some research into the different VPN candidates and stuff, but what else goes into kind of determining this and the considerations too?
I mean, from our side, we didn't take that much more time preparing for this. I mean, we did but maybe 3 or 4 months ago, some test drive with pre-channel. But it was like, to say, a long time ago. I don't know how much time the IT folks invested in researching Mo and Aaron. I know it's on the early stages, so we have a an overview of what they are, but we haven't really battle tested them. But like as the first meeting goes, we had like a 15-minute discussion last week on what's the elevator pitch for pre-channel, what's the elevator pitch for Mo and Aaron, not going deeper. And I think I think that probably the thing that took the most time for real was making the Zoom room work. As we wanted to.
Way to go.
But yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think part of it is, I think now if we could rewind the clock and do it all over again, we could do it in half the prep time,
Oh, sure.
and we'd and that's kind of what we try and do with these Backstage Pass sessions, is we like to show when things actually don't go perfectly, because I think that's a legitimate learning moment, and we also have some awesome surprises. Like, we learned, oh, they can zoom the camera, we can do, have these little things we try on the fly. And part of that is just getting comfortable with a whole new set of tools, the hardware and the software. And I think also probably most of the conversation we had was just, an IT team is not really used to being front and center, the subject of a webinar. So part of it was just getting comfortable with us really helping you understand, it really is not a big production. It really is just the meeting, an honest, legitimate IT discussion that you have to have. And I think that really helps people see it doesn't matter what the meeting is when you are distributed, or when you all can't be in the same room. You put this common workspace in between you, and this is what can happen. If we did it over again, would we do it better? Would we align stuff? Yeah, but that's not all. It doesn't always have to look beautiful and perfect for it to be a wonderful artifact for a team. Yeah, and I love it. And from us in services, it just makes me so happy and appreciative that there are people elsewhere in the company that are really sweating the details on this stuff, that allows us to do our job and do it safely and maintain customer data integrity. I mean, that really adds to the the joy in us doing our job, is knowing that they're really competent, sharp, creative people doing their job where it needs to be done inside the company. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, from our side, it's really, really, really cool that, I mean, we know, but it's always cool to know that you like everyone in the rest of the company appreciates that, because it's usually the invisible work, but it's super important. So it's great. Right. It's also great being able, I think, at least from our side, to interact with the larger audience, and showing a little bit how we think and how we plan our work. It's just it's work, right? It's not like it's not like that ethereal. It's like getting together, thinking together, planning together, and executing.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, you're in one of those roles where if you're doing an excellent job, no one notices, and we forget to give you all the praise, but we're all over you if something's going wrong.
Yeah.
That's tough.
We are the ninjas,
That's right.
The plumbers.
That's right. And with that, we'll just, if you have questions, ask. If not, I'll thank you, Sebastian and Guido and Joel and everyone else for jumping in and taking this challenge on to show the world how you guys work.